Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this. So Gary Gensler says he will not commit to overturning SEC rule that prevents highly regulated financial firms from holding Bitcoin and crypto. Take a listen.
I'd like to move on to SAB 121. As you know, the SEC overstepped their authority by issuing SAB 121 while also harming investors in the financial system. Chair Gensler, I have contacted your office repeatedly about SAB 121 and asked to speak with you about this. Your office has totally ignored all of our requests, so I'm very glad you are before Congress today to answer my questions. After watching majorities in both chambers of Congress, including Democrats like Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, vote to overturn SAB 121, do you have any regrets on supporting the SAB?
The Office of the Chief Accountant has been issuing staff accounting bulletins. It's 121 because it's the 121st one in 50 years. Public companies were asking questions about how to account for crypto and is it a liability? And what we found is bankruptcy after bankruptcy, and FTX and Terraform and Celsius and Voyager, bankruptcy court after bankruptcy court has said it's a liability of the company. So I think the accounting that the staff bulletin put out helped public companies understand that.
Thank you. The government.
Now take notice, he said with the fall of FTX and others, he doesn't think it's safe for banks to be holding crypto or getting involved with crypto. Remember when the fall of FTX happened? I said this is going to be a reason that they have to bring about crypto regulations. But we haven't got regulations either. It's kind of like Gary has done nothing since that happened.
Government accountability, a nonpartisan independent agency, was very clear. You lost. The SEC was wrong to skirt around Congress by issuing SAB 121. You're actually making the digital asset ecosystem less safe. Yes or no, Chair Gensler, will you commit to rescinding SAB 121 today?
No, it's good accounting bulletin that's out there, and if somebody comes in and works with the Office of the Chief Accountant in a consultative matter where it is bankruptcy remote, and a number of banks and broker-dealers have done this, where if they're holding the customer funds and it truly is the customers, it's truly the remote from bankruptcy.
Reclaiming my time since
it's not a liability.
Like to move.
So he's saying if it's the customer's funds, then it's remote from bankruptcy. So he kind of leaves that in a gray area as well. But what happened with BNY? So BNY can now just go ahead and discard SAB 121 and get involved with Bitcoin ETFs and things like that. What makes BNY so much different than any other bank? It's most likely because somebody paid Gary to give the green light to BNY. That's the only way this could have happened, in my opinion. BlackRock News. BlackRock amends their custody agreement with Coinbase, files with SEC. As detailed in the SEC filing, the amendment updates Section 2.1 of the Custodial Services Agreement. Coinbase custody must now process a withdrawal of digital assets to a public blockchain address within 12 hours of receiving instructions from the trust and its authorized representatives, subject to specific balance requirements. Now, here's what I don't get. How can BlackRock and Coinbase just make their own rules with the SEC? And why is Gary not fighting this? Most likely because it's BlackRock. And they just said, listen, this is how it's going to be, and you're just going to sign off on it. Because it seems like it's pay to play at the SEC. Same reason that it's pay to play inside the United States in general. In 2024, new crypto banks are likely to expand their roles as custodians of cryptocurrencies, leveraging their expertise in asset safeguarding. while adopting to the digital asset custody demands of their clients. Honestly, the path forward for the US banks is to get involved with crypto. It will open up so many new options at the banks. Think about it. All of a sudden, the bank can offer crypto to their clients, but they're still stuck around these ETFs. And honestly, the ETFs, in my opinion, are just paper Bitcoin, paper Ethereum. And if XRP ETFs open up, it's just going to be paper XRP. Why don't these people just hold the damn asset? Why do they have to hold something like an ETF? Oh, let me dip my toes in the crypto waters. It's like, come on, people, grow the hell up and invest in the actual asset. The Third Circuit Court grilled the SEC for not giving a solid reason when it denied Coinbase's request for clear crypto regulations. The reason that they don't want to give clear crypto regulations, even to Coinbase, is because they want to keep it in a gray area. As long as crypto remains in this gray area, Gary can continue to crack down on crypto. And I think it's a handful of politicians pushing Gary in this direction. By now, in the United States, we should have led the way in crypto, led the way as far as innovation. But instead, we're still being held back. Now, take a listen to Tom Emmer cook Gary in this 2-minute clip. Take a listen.
The SEC broke the law, your attorneys lied to the court, and no one in your leadership here in D.C. has been held accountable. That tracks. Seems like business as usual here in Washington. Okay, switching gears very quickly. It's been recently reported that Vice President Harris has finally said she'd craft clear rules of the road for the digital asset space if she becomes president. Is this your approach too, sir, or do you think she's rebuking you because she doesn't think you've done a good enough job establishing these clear rules over the last 3 years of her administration?
I think that there's laws in place. If Congress wishes to change them, they'll change them. But we are enforcing the laws, and there are many
Reclaiming
people in
my
this
time.
field
So you don't
that are
think
not
she's
following
rebuking
the laws.
Reclaiming my time. Well, it's very interesting that you view your performance that way, because we have a litany of court cases, extraordinary confusion in the marketplace, and millions of Americans pining for clarity from you. You've abused the agency's enforcement tools, and you've even baited companies eager to comply with you, only to hit them with enforcement actions. You've retaliated against businesses and people who have come before this committee to talk about the next generation of American finance. And perhaps, somehow, worst of all, you've made up the term crypto asset security. This term is nowhere to be found in statute. You made it up. You never provided any interpretive guidance on how crypto asset security might be defined within the walls of your SEC. Yet, you made the broad proclamation that you believe a majority of tokens are crypto asset securities. You did this, and you deliberately used this made-up term as the basis for your entire enforcement crusade over the past 3 years, only for your lawyers to retract it in a footnote to a court just last week. Your inconsistencies on this issue, sir, have set this country back. We could not have had a more historically destructive or lawless chairman of the SEC.
Gary's going to go down in the history books as the worst chairman at the SEC at this rate. But it was great to hear Tom Emmer grill him. I mean, I wish Tom Emmer would actually take some sort of action already, instead of just yelling at Gary time and time again. But it is great to hear someone put him in his place. Goodbye Howey test, hello Ripple test. Stuart Alderoty, 4 years after Ripple's CLO, Stuart Alderoty stated this headline. Bloomberg titles, Ripple's case bodes well for other crypto companies battling the SEC. You know, Ripple was a victim of the SEC, in my opinion. They had to pay all those legal fees. They also got to pay the settlement to the SEC as well. But they fought the good fight for the entire crypto space, and nothing is ever going to change that. And honestly, I think Ripple had to go through this because of what XRP actually is. It is the biggest disruptor to the entire banking system. Here's what the people want. They want fast, cheap, and secure payments. Here's what the banks want. Slow, trustless payments, and they want it to be very expensive so they can continue to line their pockets off of all of those fees. But how this is going to turn out is the fact that XRP and RippleNet is going to change the entire banking system going forward. Wow, you're not kidding. His hands are literally shaking. I'm willing to bet this is because he's incredibly nervous, as he should be. Somebody pointed out how nervous Gary was today. Take a look.
And it's to an earlier point, if I can, that this Howey standard is actually quite clear. One court said Howey provides clearly expressed text.
He definitely looks very nervous. But honestly, what it is this. He's owned by the big banks. He's owned by a handful of politicians, while other politicians are pointing out all the problems he's creating. He's holding an entire country back on innovation. That's what he's doing. Do you realize that if crypto had a clear path forward, we would already be far along with adoption here in the United States? Every single bank in this country would already have the ability to custody crypto and offer their customers all kind of custody options, maybe even yield on their crypto. And once we get fair value for crypto, then the banks could also use it as collateral going forward. There has been habitual administrative actions from the SEC struck down by federal courts. Take a listen to this.
What those rules are, but I want to move to another question really quickly. Over and over again, your administrative actions have been invalidated by the courts. And we've seen it in the proxy advisory rule, the private funds disclosure rule, the debt box example, the stock buyback rule, Grayscale, Ripple. Over and over and over and over again, your administrative actions have been struck down in federal court. Commissioner Peirce, what does this say about the legitimacy and reputation of the SEC when the agency is constantly losing in federal court?
Well, it certainly says we need to be a little more careful when we go out with proposals and when we take actions to make sure that we're acting within the constraints that Congress gave us. And these are things that, in many of these instances, private fund rule, advisor rule, for example, we knew ahead of time that there were legal questions about whether we had the authority to do what we did, but we moved forward, and this is not good for our institutional.
Here's what they're doing. They're throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. The problem is they keep losing in court. The only win they actually got was with Ripple. They lost on the fact that XRP is not a security. We already know it's never going to be deemed a security. However, they did win a settlement from Ripple, $125 million. And, Brad probably looks at that as the pay to play here in the United States. But, they keep losing time and time again, yet they're going to still continue to try to crack down on crypto. And, we can't even get clear crypto regulations in the United States. It seems like it's taking forever, but this happens overnight. FCC FastTrack Soros bid to dominate the airwaves. Last week, the FCC adopted an order to approve his purchase of more than 200 radio stations in 40 markets just weeks before the presidential election. The stations reach more than 165 million people, and staff at the FCC are concerned that the move is politically motivated. The commission's 3 Democrats voted for the move, while the 2 Republicans voted against it. Under existing FCC rules, foreign companies' ownership of U.S. radio stations is not supposed to exceed 25%. Soros took foreign investment to make his bid and then filed a request for the commission to make an exception to the usual review process. The decision to fast-track the approval process bypassed a national security review, which could have taken up to a year to complete. So as long as you're Soros and you're willing to go along and push the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum agenda, the FCC just bends a knee to George Soros. This is the most evil shit that could have happened right before a presidential election. Because this guy is one of the most evil people in the world. But that's how things get done in the United States. It depends on who you are and if you're willing to pay to play. It's more and more corruption at every turn inside the United States. But you know, we are XRP investors. Eventually, we are going to have crypto regulations here in the United States. And when that happens, soon after, we are going to get institutional adoption, which will lead to mass adoption. And it's just a matter of time. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.